Good morning and welcome to the Field Report for July 27th, 2017. Of course, you know the story that made headlines yesterday. It's about the standard requirements in order to serve at the military capacity and the traditional standards that were reauthorized by President Trump that I think, first of all, I almost wish this never happened. First of all, it causes all kinds of concerns, and that was one of the most major moves by any administration to change this standard uniform policy. And I have to tell you, this did great harm to our military. And if you were on the wrong side of this issue and you can't possibly understand what it is, a life-death issues that occur on the field in uniform, especially in a wartime exercises, personally, this is a no-brainer. People make emotional arguments for everything, and the problem is that's the last place you want to be doing that, is in the military. Not at the capacity that the military serves at, not at the same capacity that is required in order even to get in a uniform. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that overlook the military standards and what's required. I mean, there's a process in everything you do. When you're going through a process of serving, everything from training to wearing, military standard, everything. And that includes the ability to carry a weapon on base, off base, etc. And the problem is the civilians that don't understand that what they do is they carry these arguments over into the public. And that's kind of what the problem is about transgender community, is that when you have a job to do, you put a lot of things aside. People who personally make sacrifices to serve, their families make a lot of the sacrifices if they are supportive. A lot of times, and this is just across the board with the VA, everything that has gone wrong in the military has actually done more harm, has been a detriment to those who have to fight or train at the capacity that is required in order just to meet the basic standards. This is a non-issue in the military. It's straight across the board. There's no arguing, simplifying it. I mean, if anyone right now that is serving or has served have to meet the standard requirements, then that applies to everybody. There are no special accommodations in the military. And the last place in the military where especially at basic training, at the level of basic training, there's no special accommodations. Not for anybody. There weren't for us that served, and it's just the way it is. When you demand and have to take orders, especially if you're giving special orders to serve, and you don't know where your order is going to take you. So if I'm thinking about a confidence issue, and especially because there's a confidence course in which military is required to meet that, just the basic standards, and somebody is emotional about whether they got their surgery on time, that is not an issue. That's a non-issue for the military. We recognize that there are going to be people that have concerns, but they too know if they want to keep their job, they're going to have to meet those requirements. And the public issue about social justice concerns has to be made and left in the public arena. That does not belong in your job. Just like a lot of people would argue that you shouldn't discuss politics and religion at your job. I would apply. That would apply. There's a code of justice issue. I served in the military JAG. I never, ever, ever thought the day would come that would ever have these challenges. And it's unfortunate for that person who is transgender, because they're caught in the middle, and it's as confusing as this topic already is. But it's a basic requirement. And if you want to have a sex change operation and do that, that's your personal decision to do that. Now, when you start getting into rights and whether you're offended or not, that's why it's a public matter. Public matters do not belong in the military when it comes to certain requirements. And we're talking about uniform standards that would make me or anyone else, if we had issues other than transgender, disqualified for serving, disqualified for carrying a gun. You have to qualify. There's military qualifications. You cannot become a sharpshooter unless you meet the standard qualifications. So anyone civilian who doesn't understand that, I mean, they simply don't understand what's required of the military. The highest standards are required. It's unacceptable otherwise, because what ends up happening is you reward people for the wrong reasons. And a lot of those medals and awards are given for people who go above and beyond service, and they qualify. Anyone that's ever served knows that they have to go through a series of qualifications, and you could be easily disqualified if you bring your emotional, individual, social problems into the barracks. It's just that way. So they can complain, but none of us would be able to get away with the things that our military in the previous administration has allowed. And that's sad, because it hurts a lot of people that don't understand their issues with transgender. And with the increase of suicide, statistically, it's a detriment to those people that are serving. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that misunderstand what is required. They totally not get. They make our issues into a liberal left-right issue. And the military has always been very neutral on a lot of things. And they have to, because of the people that are serving. And it doesn't do any harm. It does great harm to the people at the highest level who are serving at a very important capacity. To me, it bothers me, and it concerns me in every way, the dangers we face in the field and out of the field. And anybody that's ever served as a medic and paramedic, there's obviously different expectations when you're dealing with a patient who has maybe medical issues that concern somebody in the transgender community. This is about a life-death issue across the board. So arguably, I think why would I not? I wouldn't expect anyone to not go public about that. You know, it doesn't mean that they go back in the closet. That's their personal decision. This is a non-issue in the military. The standard requirements is a safety issue. It's a basic safety issue. And no one, it doesn't matter if you're transgender, male, female, you don't meet the qualifications. You don't meet the qualifications. Okay, it doesn't come down to anything more than that. Any female or male or anyone that goes in the uniform knows if they don't meet the requirements, they're not serving. They'll be benched, they'll be on profile, and etc. So this should never have been an issue, but it is now. And unfortunately, what you have happening is that there are people that are going to have to work a lot harder to meet those requirements, and they're not going to want to know what was required of the military in the previous under service directives, you know. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people, they are upset and hurt. Well, that's why it's a social justice matter, and it's not a matter that the military needs to be concerned about. It goes back to service, honor, duty. These are requirements. Anyone else would argue that they don't simply understand what they're signing up for. Because if we all believed what we believed, it probably we'd be living in a fantasy. Thank you for listening.